Hey, this is Jim with NDI November. Thank you for joining us for another episode. I am being joined live in studio with Mike Bergeron from Panasonic. Hey, Mike, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Jim. Happy to be here.
We are going to talk about Panasonic ProAV camera solutions, live production and streaming systems, the Panasonic KAIROS systems, and everything NDI and more. We invited Mike here to join us in studio. Mike, introduce yourself and Panasonic ProAV to our audience.
All right. Hi, my name is Mike Bergeron. I'm a product manager at Panasonic. Been there for quite some time. I was responsible for launching the KAIROS platform when that came out right during the pandemic, which is great. But also I've been a camera engineer, going back into the 90s. Yeah, started out in film. Work my way, through just about every kind of just about every technology there is.
And that's one of the reasons why we invited you to join us today, because we know you can speak to a lot of these different solutions, the Panasonic products, but also the workflows that our customers are using to set up the AV over IP network. And, as much as we're talking about the NDI technology, AV over IP kind of first was established in the broadcast space with ST2110 and even precursors to that.
Yeah. I mean, I was involved with like the Video Services Forum way back when they created the TRO3 standard. At that point, there was a whole thing where Ebert had a system and Sony had a system and everybody, but it finally converged. Right. And then that became SMPTE 2110. That was solving a very different problem than what we're doing with AV now. And with things like NDI, that was just, you couldn't scale SDI up as much as they wanted to scale it, like for so many signals. And so they went to just IP networks, but like big IP networks, like 100 gig switches and things like that, because those could scale indefinitely. And it's basically, the whole world. And so that could be expensive because you had to have gateways to turn all your SDI signals into 2110. I mean, for a huge system, it was worth it as you get your core routing. But I mean, everybody looks at that and, in a video director, someone would go, oh, AV over IP. And they're thinking, Cat6 cables, because that's like, wow, I have IP all over my campus. I could use that for, because at the time it's like you were thinking like, oh, am I going to pull HDMI everywhere? Or, that maybe they hadn't even done SDI yet. So, there was a desire to take advantage of gigabit networks.
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things you point out too, is the ST2110 was built for the scalability. Whereas I think one of the reasons for the popularity and the adoption of NDI is that it was almost a way to replace the SDI cable. It gave you more of these local area network installations and some of the stuff that we're going to talk about today, where it gives you an independence of sources and production systems, right?
Yeah, when we were putting streaming outputs on the PTZ cameras going way back, and it was really more of you could use it for monitoring. It was like an RTSP, just a streaming protocol. But the early on, the new tech was accepting it as an input.
Yep.
And also they could control the cameras, with the old joystick on that thing. And so they had the streaming video and the control protocols and things on the same cable. This is about the same time that you started to see the PoE becoming available. So like the idea of what you have with a broadcast studio camera with the hybrid cable, where you've got power and control and video essence all on one cable, to do that with something that's in your drawer was really, really appealing. And also because of that, you could avoid having to put all your NDI, all your like SDI cards on your computer hardware, which was kind of expensive to do. Absolutely. So the idea that it didn't take long till that just got widely adopted, because I connect to the computers. If I can connect to the camera, then that it's easy for me to plug and play and get a network going. But then it's just a matter of, okay, how many gateways can I get rid of if I can make things native?
Absolutely. Yeah. And you mentioned, and we talk about it all the time, but with the Panasonic PTZ cameras, you have a single Cat6 cable that is giving your audio video feedback to the production system. It's giving you the control capabilities. And with PoE, it's powering that camera.
Yeah.
So that single connection, that single cable running to that camera, it gives you the flexibility of installing that camera pretty much anywhere. And that's kind of what's led to this being such a game changer in the marketplace, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I mean, there were already years worth of deployments of the Panasonic PTZs where they were already putting that gigabit LAN in place just for the control network. Because, I mean, we had gone, and we still support serial control, but we were doing most of your camera control was happening over that network. And so, and also tally was happening over that network. And so once you had the video essence on there, you know, that was that. You know, you had everything in there. And so where you've got that kind of infrastructure, that's really appealing because it's the same people in the organization who are putting in the computer network, who are hanging the projectors, who are putting these cameras in. They can use the same skills, the same tools to make a video conference room to make a conference room into a video conference room with multi-camera.
Absolutely. And we're going to talk about some of those different workflows, everything from corporate AV to education, presentation, lecture capture, and live event production. I know in the corporate AV space, it's great because these corporations were one of the first ones to set up these robust IT networks where there is going to be that network patch cable available to any conference room that you want to put a camera in. But one of the things that's great about the Panasonic camera lineup is your camera's range in a series from everything that could be a corporate Zoom camera to a high-end broadcast camera. And these are being adapted all along that product lineup in corporations all over, right?
Well, it's great because I think the direction we would usually go is we'll introduce, you know, the best camera we can make.
Sure.
For broadcast application. And then we'll say, okay, you know, how can we get this? How can we get a more affordable version of this? Okay, and what's expensive? And one of the things that's expensive is the SDI card.
Yep.
You know, and some of the other things, and having the sync input and things. And so we can sort of start removing these things and stripping something down until it's until you get to the price point that you need, but it still has the same quality of your pen, smooth moves and everything still works with the same controllers. And that's actually where some of these big customers, they like that, where once they get their guys trained on the controllers and setting everything up, they'll do the big multi-purpose room where the executives go. And then the same guys who set that up can then get some lower cost cameras and put in a huddle room somewhere.
Yep.
And not only that, because it's a network, I can do one control room.
Yes.
And I can hit all the different spaces.
And we do show off how the Panasonic PTZ camera lineup really does fit into all these different applications. And I know that NDI is native now on the entire product family, right?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, there's still stuff going around that I think there's still some.
You got plenty of choices, of course.
But I mean, you got a lot of choices. And yeah, it's native on all those. And actually, we recently showed, and I put this on here, but we recently showed a new controller where it can do a decode of a signal for the monitor.
Oh wow! Okay.
For an SDI output.
Great.
So it's like another extra thing you can do with the controller. So you save yourself the trouble having to build that.
Absolutely. It gives you more flexible workflows. You'll see through the different camera families that they have here, everything set up from that web conference, house of worship PTZ, corporate AV installations, to everything up to the high-end corporate AV applications, live event stages, even Broadway theaters. Even though some of these campuses will even put in a 2110 network. Yep.
And which you would support with a UE160. Sure. But they're still going to run the streaming because that network is there. You're running that network no matter what. Yep. Because that's your control network. And so once you're plugging in a controller, that same plug you can pull the signal out of.
Perfect. And before we get off this slide, I want to give honorable mention to the UR100, which is your outdoor camera. Super popular, especially in sports production applications. And again, that does give you that same network capability and the same NDI capability in a camera that is made for outdoor installations. So that's being used. I've seen them in stadiums right here in New York.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
no,
that's being used all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, and I think what's happened in there is that you've started to get to the types of production that people want to do, and I think this comes down to what, and I would blame I would blame the pandemic for this, where everybody got used to seeing a higher production value from everywhere,
right?
And everybody learned how to do these things because they were broadcasting from their home and things, and so this became an expectation, and so something like a panel discussion where you want to have multiple cameras, but you also need to attach to teams for just for a town hall meeting or something like that. It's standard communication technology now.
Absolutely. We're looking at a workflow here that could be in a corporate AV application. It could be government. It could be education. Anything that is that town hall type discussion, giving you the capability of managing all of that over the network is really one of the big advantages in the stuff that we're talking about today.
Right, and not that different, but with like slightly different priorities is the education space, and the higher education, and even beyond that. And they were already prior to the pandemic, they were already putting a lot of resources into recording every lecture. Yes, and so that you could review, you could scan it, you can go and even look at the lecture at home before you come in and attend the lecture, so you have your questions ready.
Absolutely.
And that's something they were, I don't know if they're still calling it, they were calling it flipped learning for a while. This is very, very popular. And that when I'm managing that on a network, that means I can have a single conference room, a single control room. Yep. And from that control room, I can manage lectures in different spaces on a campus. That the network gives you that.
Absolutely. And I know we have a lot of system integrators that tune into our NDI November. And I know one of the things the system integrators love is the control protocols that we talked about. Putting the control over the network allows them to easily tie in to these control systems, whether it's a Crestron or AMX system, or even a lecture capture or content management system, like Panopto or Kaltura. You can do all of that with these Panasonic workflows. And NDI is really one of the big engines that allows you to get that flexibility. Right?
Yeah, the NDI is kind of a shortcut to compatibility.
Absolutely,
things which we've definitely taken advantage of.
Absolutely.
Now and I might have alluded to this before, but because this is all network enabled, and because we're creating more software, we can tie our software systems onto that same network.
Okay.
And in the case of what the software we're launching now is mostly based on the Media Production Suite platform. Now that starts with a free download, and that's got device management on it. And when you think about, we go back to that 2110, the device management or orchestration systems that you had for those were massive. But here with the Media Production Suite, it's just everything on the network in terms of your PTZ controls and everything. We've had all these little software things that allow you to change the IP addresses from one spot. But what we've added to it is that you can change all the formats all at once. So you could say, today we're going to do a 4K production. So I can go in, I don't have to go and change every camera. I can just do a bulk change and switch everything over to UHD.
Perfect.
But then on that, we'll put like the auto tracking and the advanced auto framing on that same
So
platform.
This platform will be like your gateway to all of these other software tools to get more
right. And if you're setting up like a multi-camera auto framing system, you're going to want to have access to all the IP addresses and formats of the camera to set that up. So you can do that all in one platform there.
That's great.
And actually the video mixer plugin, which is one of those, is supporting NDI. So not only can it do a green screen and all these other things, but it will just do a 4x2 mixer of NDI.
Mike, I don't want to commit you to anything, but we might have to have you back on an episode to do a demo of the media production.
We should definitely do that. That'll be the next one.
I think that'd be great. And then we talked about the live entertainment, live events. These are the venues, staging productions, really getting the concert that optical image quality, right?
This is where you really want the high quality, when you want the high quality systems. But the thing about these big events is folks are realizing that once they've staged this event, once they've brought the talent in, they want to generate as much content out of that as possible.
Absolutely.
And so they just keep going back to the well to get more content. No, we'll go to that.
This was the slide I was looking for.
But just go to that one too, because even though you've got this SDI infrastructure, you've got this 21 and 10 stuff that's feeding your outside broadcast trucks or maybe your big scoreboard, there's still all this other content you want. There's the big broadcast feed, and that's going to the network and everything, and that's there.
Right.
But there's all these other things you want to do. You want to do fan engagement stuff. You want to do stuff in the luxury suites. You want to do stuff for people's fantasy team, and every player now has got an Instagram feed.
Absolutely.
That they're doing. So every time I look, there's some other content that somebody wants to squeeze from that content that's on the network.
Absolutely.
So if we can run a streaming network, an NDI network or something alongside that content, then we can serve up all those angles, all those camera angles to create more and more content.
Yeah, absolutely. We have one of our dealers that joined us for NDI November that talks a lot about how they're using NDI networks in sports venues to get the fan engagement.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're driving it right to the LED display in the venue itself, but then someone else is patched into that same camera and using that source to create the broadcast that goes out to the community.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm not changing that NEP truck over to NDI,
exactly.
But it doesn't, but that doesn't change the fact that I want that content in the gigabit to be on my Gigi network.
Absolutely. And what we're looking at here is Panasonic, being one of the leaders in the industry, is involved in a lot of these huge venue applications. But not every venue that's using Panasonic cameras is a giant venue like we're looking at on the screen.
Well, and
just local concert halls and even stations.
Even on the main broadcast, if some of this other content you want that to go to the operators, say that becomes more important, I can send that NDI signal back into the camera for return video.
Sure.
To provide for the operator. So say, one of these things that was sort of like a tertiary bit of content you were creating became really important.
Yep.
Where somebody's doing their, where one of your players starts dating Taylor Swift or something. Like all of a sudden this other sidebar content becomes usually that. Maybe I want to feed that to my return video for an operator who's doing that. And so that's where we started on the high end stuff, adding those NDI ports alongside the SDI, alongside the 2110, and that's in the PTZs, the studio cameras and the CCU. Like the beauty of having a CCU is I can just keep putting ports on that,
right?
And so in the new CCUs, we've got a NDI port, we've got an extra Dante port, we've got a SRT, all these things on there, so you can run into whatever network, whatever network pulls up a van or a fly pack.
Yep. And I know we've seen that all the time too. A house of worship might have an LED display wall that was installed ages ago, and they're using an SDI or an HDMI video connection to that, but they still want to take the cameras and put it on the network to send an SRT stream out to their audience that can't make it into the venue, or to use an NDI production system to create some of the content that we've talked about.
Well, or somebody just walks in and they want to show some content from their laptop. And, what nightmare that can be to go hunt down all the cables for that.
Absolutely.
Where I can just plug that in and I can get that NDI signal and I can deal with it. I mean, and it's PowerPoint or something. So it doesn't need to be, it doesn't need to be like a single line of delay. I mean, that's where we have the NDI inputs on KAIROS.
Yep.
They used all the time. It's just a couple of inputs, but it saves you so much trouble.
And we should talk a little bit about the power of the KAIROS systems. So KAIROS is Panasonic's production engine that is based on a CPU, GPU architecture, software-based, tremendously scalable, really could fit in as the production brain to all these different applications that we've talked about today, right?
Yeah, I mean, the neat thing about KAIROS is that I can build a screen I can build some screen content, and I can build it for any screen. And once I've decided what screen I'm going to build it for, and that could be like a 32:9 LED wall or something, I can take any of the content that I have and mix it in there, put it in as a layer. And so if somebody comes in with it, if somebody walked in with a laptop, they just wanted to put some, or they just want to put like the operating system of some new app there they want to show you, or it's a guy coming in and doing a Salesforce demo, he wants to just pull it easy peasy, just goes in the NDI port, and then that can be put in as a layer. You just put it in over the shoulder, layer it in. You can fade it in and out, and also you're building this screen content just like you're working in After Effects or Photoshop.
Absolutely.
Except you're messing with live video. In some cases, or pictures, or recordings.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about this and just the flexibility of combining all these different things together, whether it's the Panasonic ProAV cameras, your production system, the media production suite, KAIROS system. You have the flexibility to really create a system.
And you'll notice there's something there called Content Compass. Okay. That's something that's coming. Okay. A little teaser on that. So what that is doing is orchestration and network management for all these systems. So I can use that to route NDI or SRT. I can use it to NMOS route any of the 2110 stuff I have. But also I'm just looking at, I can just see all the network stuff and build the topology, control it. I can use it to switch over all my paint controls from one room to another room, like in one platform. And so, like working together with the media production suite, we're and KAIROS, I guess for that matter, we're moving from being just edge devices to really being at the core of the production.
And that's what I hope really comes across in our presentation today, is how Panasonic is building the tools for the workflow, the device management, the auto tracking, the control capabilities, even the advanced controller that you introduced and that you talked about a little bit earlier.
Yeah, I mean,
these are all ways of just getting more out of the system.
Well, what we want people to be looking at is the room. Like, what's the space? What does the space do? The space is I can do a panel discussion with 4 people, and I can do a panel discussion with 4 people, and I can have one operator control the whole thing.
Right.
And then he or she can maybe even be doing another room at the same time.
Right.
And that's, we'll start there. We can drill down to what are the components to that.
Yes.
But I mean, the person who's in charge and is setting this up, that's the first thing they need to understand. What is this going to be, when the room is done?
Absolutely. And, that really is a great way to think about everything that we're talking about this entire month long on NDI November. It's finding the right tools to get the right production for your needs. If you have any questions about the Panasonic solution that we talked about today, give us a call, 800-634-5178. We have a great network of integrators, resellers, Panasonic trained and authorized, ready to help answer any of your questions. Mike, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. It's fun.
Always a pleasure.
All right.